Do you wish you had a gorgeous spa bar that was ready in just a few hours? Well, let's try this soothing coconut milk and sea salt bar. If you prefer the convenience of your hot process soaps being ready in just 24 hours, then hit that thumbs up button. And if you like watching videos like this one, then make sure to hit the subscribe button so you can catch each and every one of our Thermal Mermaid products. The salt bar we're making today is a nice light, close to white salt. So we want to keep our oils nice and light. The easy part about making it in the crock pot is that we don't have to go to all the effort of pre-melting everything because we're just going to heat these oils up as we go along. So we can put everything in together and wait for the temperature of the crock pot to melt everything down. If you love adding salt bars and spa bars to your product collection, just remember that the salt dissolves faster in the shower than the regular cold processed soap does, so these bars don't last as long. The trickiest part of this recipe happens right in the beginning of the recipe. Half of our water in the lye water solution is going to be coconut milk, and we're just going to pour equal parts coconut milk into cold distilled water, and I mean cold distilled water. This water's been in the freezer just long enough to start freezing. When the lye crystals are poured into the water, the chemical reaction will heat up, and we don't want our coconut milk to burn before we can get it into the oils in the crock pot. So for this step, we want to just keep the temp down as low as possible. As the coconut milk becomes hotter, it'll start to turn cream and then yellow. If it burns, it'll turn from yellow to brown, and you'll smell scorched coconut for sure. You can see mine is moving into the creamy yellow stage, and it seems to stay there, so we're good so far. I don't smell anything burning, and the cold water kept us right where we want to be. But we don't want this sitting around. We have to move along. Back over in the crock pot, our oils have already melted, and I'm very quickly going to pour the lye water solution right into the mix. Don't worry if the coconut fat separates a little in your lye water. It may look a little bit chunky, but we're going to mix that right back together right now. We're going to emulsify this right into the hot oils, and don't stop until you come to full trace. And so here you might be thinking, well, why did I go to all the effort of making sure my lye water solution was close to freezing when I'm just going to turn around and pour it all into hot cooking oils? And that's because there's a chemical change happening right now. Everything is being broken down into soap as we're mixing, and the coconut milk itself is mostly just water and some fat. And that smooth, creamy fat is bonding with the lye and being turned into soap. Whatever fat can't find any lye to bond with will end up floating free in the finished bar and turn into a lotion-like moisturizer. So as this is all changing around and breaking down and rebonding, it was that first stage of chemical contact that we wanted to keep under control. Now I'm going to give this a good mix, and I'm looking at the surface to make sure that I don't see any of that oil slick sheen. And it looks good, so we've completely emulsified. We're going to cover the top, allow this to cook for about 30 minutes, and come back and go right into the second stage of hot process soap cooking. You can see here when I take the top off that we call this the applesauce stage, and all I'm going to do now is mix it very well. If anything has separated, mix it all back together, put the cover back on, and allow for it to cook down another 30 minutes. But in the meantime, we have a little bit of prep work to do. We're going to grab about a teaspoon of powdered titanium dioxide and blend this down into 2 ounces of coconut milk. This will color our bar white and look pretty with the texture of the sea salt. Let's check and see how our soap is cooking. And here I discover that we're in a between stage, somewhere between the second and third stage of soap processing. But we're going to give this a turn and let it cook down some more. Before we put the cover on, we're going to add what's left of our coconut milk. All in all, I've used an entire can of coconut milk, and this was what was left over after we measured out the equal parts of water and coconut milk from the beginning. And of course, adding this toward the end will allow for us to maintain some of that creamy coconut milk in the bar without it being completely broken down. I'm going to mix this in until it's fully incorporated, and right now I'm going to remove the heat and turn the crock pot completely off. It'll still cook for another 10 more minutes, and we'll come back and see what it looks like right around then. We're fully into stage 3 of our soap process, and it's looking great. Right now, we're going to add our colorant in and mix it up well. The oils have stayed very light for this bar, but again, we want it to be more toward the white end, so we're going to put the titanium dioxide in with the coconut milk we made earlier and blend this down nicely. Now the final 2 additives are the salt and the fragrance oil, and those are both heat sensitive. So we're going to take our time blending in the titanium dioxide, and as we're doing this and mixing it up, the heat is dispersing and it's cooling down faster. Now it's time to add the salt. The soap batter is still warm enough where I expect this salt to melt, and as it's cooling down pretty quickly, it won't completely incorporate into the batter. So we're going to get this very nice modeling effect as the salt melts and then recrystallizes in the bar without being completely incorporated in. The final product actually looks really pretty if you do it this way. All in all, you have several choices of salt that you can add to any spa bar. Epsom salt, Dead Sea salt, Himalayan pink salt. In this case, we're just using straight, white, kosher sea salt. Our fragrance oil has a flash point of 200 degrees, and it's our final additive. So we'll just drop our thermometer in here to make sure that we're well below that mark. As our soap is cooling, we're somewhere down near 140 degrees. The salt has melted just a little bit, and we're cooling pretty quickly, so we're good to drop in our fragrance oils. This coconut oil does contain vanilla, so we will be adding a vanilla stabilizer along with our fragrance oil so that the bar will stay a nice light white until we're ready to use it. And that's just about everything we need for this recipe. So now it's time to transfer our soap batter into its mold. And finally, we dust the top with a little bit of sea salt, and we set it aside so that it can harden and firm for 24 hours. Then, when we come back, we'll be ready to cut. Once we're ready to slice it open, you can see how unique this salt bar looks. Inside, the salt melted very quickly but never fully incorporated into the soap batter, so you can see this beautiful marbled mottled look on the inside of the bar. And here we have our final product, the Coconut Milk Sea Salt Spa Bar. If you'd like to try to make this at home, remember you can come over to thermalmermaid.com and come join our learning library where you can print out the full recipe for this bar along with the instructions and watch the members edited video, which gives you more detail on how to make these great salt bars.